Okay. Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure being here, and I also thank the organizers for inviting me to speak on Estonian context, because I think it is quite important and interesting to discuss how similar problems are approached in different countries. Just a brief note on my organization, because our systems are different. Estonian Technical Regulatory Authority is a horizontally integrated regulator in many technical fields. So we are responsible for industrial safety matters, construction, electronic communications, and some else. We operate within the domain of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. So our model is sort of a German model of institutional setup. The topic is, of course, very broad and the time is short. So I will cover 4 issues briefly. First of all, I will introduce how the construction activities are regulated in Estonia, very briefly. Who is responsible for quality and safety? How is quality and safety ensured in construction? What is the role of the state in this picture? And last but not least, as public buildings carry the biggest threat, I will also touch upon some issues with supervision of public buildings in Estonia. Some of you know that we have a new construction code in Estonia effective this July 2015. It's been a long time coming, almost 7 years in preparation, but now it's here. The new code explicitly relies on 4 concepts: good building practice, safety, professionalism, and environmental friendliness. So good building practice in a sense that since the technology is evolving so fast, it is absolutely impossible to cover all the technical aspects on the level of direct legislation, be that the law or degrees. And in the absence of direct norms, also a reasonable conduct or best available knowledge applies. So everybody is responsible for that. And we also have a precedent from the Supreme Court of Estonia stipulating that in the absence of direct norms, voluntary norms become mandatory, to put it very bluntly. Safety is the task of the state to create a safe environment. So constructing is not just a private business, because it brings along threats to the public sphere as well, potentially. And it is the task, legal obligation of all the players in the construction process to act safely and prevent threats. Professionalism, we also foresee, there is a conception that a good and viable result can only come when there is a diligent and demanding owner who orders the work, and professional performers. Otherwise, it is almost impossible to have a reasonable outcome. As far as environmental friendliness is concerned, for us this is twofold. First of all, of course, we would like to promote efficient efficient construction process to minimize the environmental waste, logistical waste, material waste, etc. Harvesting. And secondly, of course, the code is to promote energy efficiency. We really would like to see that constructing in Estonia is up to the highest norms in energy efficiency, and the state is currently also leading the way in this respect. Legal framework. I mentioned our new construction code. The code is perhaps interesting in the sense that it merges construction-related norms from quite many different fields. So it merges the former Construction Act as a base legislation, but also norms from electrical safety, elevator safety, machinery safety, pressurized equipment safety, heating gas safety, and special domain-specific requirements like that. Those are merged together. The code covers the whole construction cycle or life cycle of a building from the very inception till demolition. It is normatively covered. And as I mentioned also before, that we are aiming for a sort of a holistic approach on construction regulation. So it's not only the direct regulation, the code, the degrees, the norms, but also standards, product manuals, good practice. Everything is important, and it may be, it may be legally binding as well from the voluntary side. How are commercial construction activities regulated? I think referring to Rainer's graph, we are something in the middle there. So we do restrict entry. Companies that would like to provide construction services are obliged to have legal relationship with a competent specialist that is subject to different requirements, and we are transferring to the certification model gradually in that respect. And the companies have to be registered in the Registry of Economic Activities of Estonia. So this is a notice that they have to submit. We also do accept that companies foreign companies are on an EU scale. Companies operate in Estonia and provide commercial activities if they have a right from the country of origin to do that. But this is restricted to one-off or temporary projects. If there is the nature of the activities is a more permanent one, then they would have to register or start a company, daughter company, perhaps also in Estonia. Very important aspects of quality and safety. I mentioned that quality and safety is responsibility for everybody, not only for the state, not only for the auditor, whoever, but owners, performers, and the state. Everybody is responsible for quality and safety as far as their functions are concerned. Owners, they have to be diligent. They have to do their due diligence, and they also have to have the mandatory owner supervision as stipulated by the law. Performers, they have to have the active input by the competent specialist, and now the new code also introduces a overall responsibility for the main contractor on the whole process. And state obviously is responsible for having an adequate regulation and enforcing and supervising the sector. Now moving to the role of the state, there is a sort of a dual responsibility, central state and municipalities, or a local element. The ministry is responsible for the legal framework, for the legislation, Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. My authority, technical regulatory authority, is the central state safety coordinator in Estonia. We do safety supervision in construction industry, as well as market supervision of construction products. And we do issue also building permits and permits for use what regards objects of, say, national interest or special objects, that being national security, defense, public water area regulation, and also major network infrastructure that spans several municipalities. So areas where there is a direct direct and intense state interest. And the second pillar, municipalities are responsible for the local aspects of life They conduct spatial planning, detailed planning, issue building permits and permits for use for all the rest. And they are also responsible for seeing that the maintenance of buildings and upkeep is up to the standards. What is the toolkit for the state to undertaking those functions? Well, according to the law, we have to conduct our operations based on the risk analysis. So we are after the problems, the potential threat. Of course, we are legally obliged to react to any complaints as well, but proactively we are always after the big things. Again, the code foresees a criminal or misdemeanor penalty for a variety of offenses if you construct unsafe buildings that lead to loss of life, for example, fatalities, injuries. That is a criminal offense. If you seriously fail to undertake your obligations as foreseen in the construction code, that can be a misdemeanor offense. And we also have a range of administrative measures. For example, most of the proactive work is done in the course of building permit proceedings, obviously, and also permit for use proceedings. But we can issue presets, we can induce penalty payments, conduct substitute enforcement, etc. Can also forbid use of objects, forbid activities of a company if it is a serial and serious offender. Now, the tragic incident in Maxima 2 years back in Riga, of course, had direct implications in Estonia, obviously. We were monitoring that very closely. I will point out two concrete ones. We had quite a big number of public buildings or publicly accessible buildings audited independently. We demanded such audits, and we did conduct a bunch of such audits ourselves in buildings that we thought carried the highest risk or had the largest amount of complaints on to us. And now in the new construction code, there is a differentiated requirement that depending on the purpose and size of a building, it carries an obligation for having an independent audit, depending on the particularities, but either on the design, before the use, or even regularly. And that is also up to the discretion of issuer of the building permit and permit for use. Now, as far as state buildings are concerned in Estonia, most of them, vast majority of state buildings, are managed and administered by the single entity that is called the State Real Estate Company, Limited Company, coordinated by the Ministry of Finance in Estonia. The company is responsible for the full management cycle, also from the very development planning. It commissions designs, construction, and also conducts maintenance and commissions maintenance. They are pioneering the quality-oriented public procurement in Estonia, so they also issue guidelines but try to promote the approach where the lowest price is not the only criteria, but rather a combination of price and solution, if you will, added value. We strive to see that all new buildings, public sector buildings, will be near zero graded as far as energy efficiency is concerned from 2019, and State Real Estate also conducts design and maintenance, or demands design and maintenance for all new buildings using the building information modeling application. With this, I think I will conduct my presentation. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Raigo. We have time for a couple of quick questions if we have in our audience. Yes, already you're going to get the cookie for the activity.
First, I would like to congratulate the Estonians on an excellent construction code.
Thank you.
My question pertains to the construction labor. What are you doing to ensure quality and competent construction labor, such as electricians, carpenters, masons, etc.?
Okay. I think I'll have my colleague Ahto perhaps to comment on that in more detail.
Yes, can we give a mic to colleague Otto?
No, you mean real guys who are making this construction works? Was your question that how is competence ensured of these guys? There have been talks that this educational situation had been too good in past times, but nowadays the situation is improving. Lots of educational opportunities have been opened. Schools have been renovated, and how to say, it have been too good in recent past, but now positive trend is ongoing.
Okay, thank you. Do we have other quick question? I have a quick question. You mentioned that you make an audit on the public buildings after events in Riga. So what was the main trends or main results of the audit? Were the buildings safe, or there were kind of dangerous aspects in them?
Mm-hmm. Well, what was interesting that we didn't identify any similar solutions, technical solutions to that what was actually utilized in Maxima building here. But so then we moved to the nearest similar solutions. But all in all, I can say that the results were at least satisfactory or even quite good. We did order several, because the project was done over the 2 following years, pretty much. And we did require several improvements on several objects, but I think the overall picture was satisfactory.
Okay, good news. Thank you.
Good news.
Thank you very much.